and work groups. Okay. Public hearing. This is about the 2024 proposed operating budget, RCW 84.55.120. We are required to open the hearing for public comments. So we will open that hearing at 19:01. Any comments? Public comments on this proposed operating budget?
I would like to congratulate not only the board but the staff for such a comprehensive document. It's it's impressive, and I think it wisely looks forward more than just a year. So many organizations, not just fire, but a lot, that don't seem to be able to get into that future planning mode. And financially, that's critical. You know, especially with if you're a tax base, you got to figure it out pretty quickly. So, accolades to everyone who was involved in that.
Awesome. Thank you for your comment.
Sure.
All right. Any other public comment? All right.
Okay. You got a presentation.
Oh yeah, we can skip that.
I would love to.
All right. We will give the presentation, and then we'll give an opportunity to also for more comments, and then we'll close.
Perfect. So again, this is the 2024 operating budget presentation by RCW. Purpose is to give the public an overview of the 2024 budget. We typically go in a little depth, and we'll do a little review of 2023, then we'll do kind of our strategic goals for 24, and then into the 24 budget, and then there'll be opportunities for input at the end of this presentation for the commissioners to consider. So again, 23 in review. Personnel, most of that was consumed by the 4th platoon transition, whether that be all the promotions, the debit days, anything that related to that was quite a bit of work. We also started wildfire deployments. I think that was a big change in our district and was very well received, and I think brought back a lot of value to the district. Training, again, I think last year we asked for a lot more funding and training for a reason. We have, I think, met those goals. You can see we did a lot of training, and a lot of training that affected a lot of people. A lot of kind of more advanced training than we have been doing, and so I'm really proud of our training department. It was a pretty big year, and the 3 of them put a tremendous amount of time in getting all these things accomplished. Equipment apparatus, again, our philosophy is if we budget for it, that must mean it's important. If it's important, we should get it done, and I think we achieved most of our goals in the 23 budget. Getting the Rush 43 upgraded, that'll be done here soon. We'll have the new engine probably in Oregon in the next couple of weeks and here soon. Got some other new equipment for the crews. The new Life Pack 15s were a big upgrade, and then started that tech rescue team, and then added to the water team. Facilities. Obviously a slow year in facilities because we're looking at the future and we're trying to not spend a lot of time and effort into these, but we did upgrade our IT security, added the fuel station, and again, that's using it now but planning for the future growth. The fire program and the LNI has done a lot of things throughout the organization, and then we just recently started a Western Supply. It's a vendor, but basically we can order all our station supplies online and have it delivered to each station instead of having a central station and people happen to go out. So we get order for stations specific, but it also helps us track the usage. What's getting used where, how much, why, and how we can get more efficient at the usage of those supplies. Administration, again, a lot of the administration was related to the financial change and the property city stuff. That was probably took up the vast majority of our time. But we did get some training in there. Obviously, the general levy passing was a big thing too. And so that kind of encompasses most of the administrative items. There's a few things that are going to continue on into 2024. Obviously, the property, the new station design, the Spartan engine probably won't get into service until 2024. And we continually work on our part-time staff. I think we have a good model where it's just always going to be something that has to be in the forefront to maintain. Strategic plan, again, we have all the goals in our strategic plan. We don't want to make a plan and put it on the shelf and just let it sit there, so we try to wrap that into everything we do. And so this just goes through, I'm not going to hit every one, but kind of shows where we are either started and still working on it, or whether we've completed it. Some things we complete but are still have to maintain that and working on. So the red arrows are kind of things we started in 2023. The blue means we're going to keep going in 24. So some things that we feel we're 100% completed with is full auto aid closest unit, quick dispatch. That's decreased our dispatch time by 35%, pretty big number, so we're happy with that. Finally finished everybody having a full second set, toes to head of gear, so we're happy with that. Continue to participate as company leaders or instructors at the training academy, and that is another great thing for us. We changed the comment card process. We're still getting through there, but again, we're getting information that we can actually see how we're changing and moving, and so we are happy with that. Again, the 4th platoon, that was probably the biggest change in 2023. The flow chart also, the training flow chart, the career flow chart was a big help. Very clear path how to move through your entire career within Snohomish Fire, and we're getting a lot of people moving towards that. Basically, by the time they are 2 years off probation, they should have almost everything they need to test for lieutenant when they get their time. All the training, all the courses, everything. And so we really walk them, kind of ensure that they are preparing for their future career in their first 5 years of the fire service, instead of waiting until they're later in life and then trying to go back and catch some of those things. And then the use of CAD, texting, and fire response. Trying to eliminate the use of pagers, the need to maintain and buy as many pagers, and so we've converted all of our executive staff, our day staff, all to just getting text alerts instead of pagers. So we really reduced the need for pagers just down to those 9 on duty a day. So 24. Again, 24 is probably going to be consumed with a lot of that continued facility capital plan. The designing the stations, the going out to bid, the getting the property ready, finishing. We have the city ILAs, but all they are is the framework. We still have all of the doing that has to be done to get those all executed. So that will still be a big part of 24. Getting the fire marshal program going in 24 is going to be another big one. It's probably time just to do a quick review of the strategic plan, get some collaboration goals and framework for evaluation so we're all on the same page. We are not happy with our data collection provider, and I'm going to work really hard. We've had lots of initial conversations, but I would really like to get some type of collaboration with somebody in the county. There's a lot of ways we could do this, so that's going to be a goal of mine. Continue the participation in the county tech teams. Again, funneling resources into the training and the equipping of those, and making sure that we are a full participating member. And then taking the next step in the mobilization. So technically, mobilization is the state MOB program. We want to start also participating in just general wildland incident support with our operations people. That's kind of the next level, and that's our goal for next year. As far as personnel, we're good with the CPA. It's valid through 2026, so that's kind of off the table. That's always a big thing, but we're good for that for a while. Again, that fire marshal position, starting our succession planning for our office staff, so bringing a position in mid-year so that we can job shadow and get that replacement ready, but then also job shadow a lot of our other positions. We're starting to look at a lot of our senior staff, meaning BC and up, all the way through, is in somewhere in that 3 to 7 year time frame before retired, and there's a chance that we could have a lot of people leave all at one time. And so it's really important over the next 3 to 5 years that we do a good job of ensuring that our entire organization is ready to move up, move through, and be ready as that happens. Training, not gonna go over all these, but I told you that 23 was a big year for training. We're gonna ask them to match and beat that this year. So it'll be a big year, getting a lot of people in, starting to collaborate a lot more with our neighboring agencies, doing joint trainings that have more than just us there, and so we will continue to try to lead in the training arena. Equipment apparatus, like I said, the new engines should get in service. We are going to look at, if you approve the budget, we're going to look at replacing 3 of our ambulances, 2 staff vehicles. That's on tonight. We need to do a little bit of brush truck upgrades. We got feedback from the people that were mobile saying, hey, we can change this, we can add this, we can do this to make them more useful for them, which also makes it more useful when you're here. So getting that real life experience using them, this is the positive we're seeing as a district. We're going to get better equipment and better equipment that's more useful out of using it a fair amount. Again, we'll be continue that tech equipment, getting those teams up and running, and then there'll be a big PPE replacement. We're working at replacing our PPE in chunks every 10 years. We have 2 sets, so that's really every 5 years. Again, going to a bulk purchasing methodology. It's more efficient for staff. It's cost savings for the citizens, and so we're going to keep transitioning all of our purchases to these bulk purchases. We think it's a better use of taxpayer dollars. Facilities, again, getting all that ownership agreement implemented. Still minimal repairs to the actual stations, finish the design of the 2 stations, and then hopefully you guys will be selecting awarding a bid for the construction of 2 of the stations. A lot of the site improvements and pre-construction work will be happening on time. Training on RLB, the burn building is still in our capital plan. We don't have the funding right now with the facilities, but we're going to continue to look for opportunities, grants, partnerships, some way that we can shoehorn it in to the facilities plan without costing a bunch of money and hurting the other capital plan. But it's still on our mind. We're just going to continue to look at innovative ways of getting that funded. Again, like always, continue the partnerships and continue maintenance at RLB, and then possibly looking at adding some value-added props if we can get them for low cost, like a confined space or a tech rescue. We have some ways we think we can do this with minimal cost to the district, and that would be a value add. So that's the overview, and then more of the nuts and bolts. That's fairly small now that I look at it on the screen. But that's the proposed budget for 2024 in the high-level categories. Ends up being total spend of about $12 million. Last year was 11.8, so a slight increase to our operational budget. We'll get into more details of that when we do it into the old business, because I don't have the numbers in front of me. And then you add in the transfers, and we go from about 14.5 last year to 16.7. And so you can see the vast majority, just like we told the public when we were educating them about the levy, the vast majority of the new levy dollars is going to that capital facilities funding for those 2 new stations. Revenue, again, very, the yellow is highlighted because the state doesn't have the exact numbers into us, so those are estimates still. That's the lovely thing. The state requires us to adopt the budget by the 30th, and then they give us their information in January. So we just deal with it. It's pretty low dollars, so it doesn't matter that much. But it looks like most everything else is a normal increase for a new revenue of about 16.7 over 14.5 last year. And again, most of that increase is going to facilities. Last meeting, you changed the types of funds that we're using. But again, the names didn't really change. And so this is just going over our reserve funds now. We do have 4 of them. 2 are in the general fund still. That's the lead liability and the training center. You can see the lead liability has a pretty good balance going to next year, and there'll be an item on your agenda today to lower that down to that recommended level. But right now it shows what it would be if we don't do that transfer. The training center fund is also in F70. Again, we're just building up reserve capital on that, and we're maintaining. And so if we can't find that outside the box funding for the the burn center. In a few years, we'll have built up enough to do it, but we hope we can take this small amount and leverage that into getting that burn building sooner. The other fund we have now is the reserve fund, the F-75, and there's two subcategories in that, the apparatus and equipment. That's maintaining about the funding that we've been doing the last few years. And then the facilities reserve, which you can see a rather large increase to the funding of that way. That I've said about half a dozen times, so I won't beat that horse anymore. Revenue planning, again, looking out. We just passed the fire levy lid lift, so we'll be good through 2029. So probably don't have to think about that too much. You guys will be setting the rates as we go. But the EMS levy hasn't been updated since 2019, so it's likely to come up in the next 2 years that we'll have to look at doing a levy with that. Again, that's as we look at that future forecast funding, how we want to hit that. It would also make going to the public about every 3 years, which is a nice, even march, and the public, I think, does better when we are consistent with how we do things. So, for you, what you will have to pass tonight is our expense funding from the fire and the EMS levy. And that's our recommended amounts for the two, 11.7 for the fire levy and just under 3 million for the EMS levy, for a total of 14.65 for the two levies. There was a decrease in AB by quite a bit. So the total mill rate, if this was passed, would be $1.87 per thousand. And this just gives, like you'll see later, this gives some of the options that you could do and what that effect would have. And that is the presentation. There were no emails or phone calls about public comment.
Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions on that presentation?
I was wondering, this year, there's a grant here for the Nurse Navigator program, and in the future, if that proves positive, where would that end up in our budget in the future?
It would be in the intergovernmental line, and I don't remember the exact line item. I'd have to
Would
pull
that
it
be a
up.
new line?
No, it would go to the same one that we pay our Snow 911 fee, because that's what they're going to add it to. So what would happen is it wouldn't be its own amount. Our Snow 911 fee would just go up by the normal increase, plus to fund the Nurse Navigator, because they're the one paying for it. So they're passing that on directly to us through their funding formula.
And then in the worksheet that would show there?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be in the budget worksheet. It would just say, so like last year, Snow 911 was 1,000.
Right.
Usually it would just go to $1,003 because of an increase. It will be $1,020. So it won't show Nurse Navigator itself, because it's just, it becomes an additional cost of Snow 911, and they pass that cost to all the fire agencies.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other commissioner questions? All right, we're going to go back to the public comments on this presentation. Any other public comments? No public comments. I will close the hearing at 19:19 and resume the regular meeting. We are at informational items: accounts payable, payroll, treasury report, budget to actual report, expense and revenue. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns on any of those?
He just wants to turn it off, so we don't have to stay at the.
Nope.
No, I had, the only comment I had was on some of the, and the chief, I shared it with him, about how some of the, when individuals go out and pay for a whole group of people
Yeah.
going to training or something like that, how that shows up to make sure that that isn't seen as, you know, maybe some kickback or
Yeah.
something like that, you know, I don't know how you can do that, but usually one person pays for like 5 or whatever, you know. And I was just concerned about that, you know, in the future, I don't know. I don't know if the auditor looks at that kind of stuff or.
That I'm aware of, but
Okay.
we're also increasing our credit card capabilities so the district can cover some of those things more completely.
That was the only thing I had.
But when the auditor looks at it, I told you there was a form that has all
Right.
they get that form with it. So the auditor, when they look at it, they get all of that documentation of who went, what it was paid for, how many rooms, how many days.
Okay.
Because that's all on that form, it just doesn't show up in the AP batch, because there's just not enough
Yeah, we have.
categories
we have a bigger-
to, well, and there's just not enough ways to put those notes in there.
Right, okay.
All right, moving on to old business, proposed
Oh,
budget.
wait a minute,
Oh,
wait a minute.
all right.
I thought that was just accounts payable.
Oh, no, I listed them all.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, you go on,
Well, I
go on
had-
down the line if you
yeah, I
like.
had-
Accounts
I
payable,
had-
payroll, treasury report, budget to actual report, expense.
Okay, well, I was wondering about the payroll. Remember my question before is we used to have it broken down by individual? And, you know, we don't have that, at least right now anyway. It doesn't seem like is that still something being worked on? That somebody could go in and look at that?
We can, yes, anytime.
We can,
All that's available.
I'm sorry.
It is all the detail,
Yeah,
you bet, it's
So-
all of it.
we can show you, there's no report that just spits it out the other way. So if you wanna see Bob's information, we can show you all of Bob's information, but to tell a report to say, just put out what you saw before,
yeah,
that there's no way to get that out in a reasonable form. It would be hacking up other reports or printing out all 50 individuals and putting them together.
well, the reason I brought this up more than once is I know when we've looked at those in the past, we've caught something when it's been, you know, when it's been out here, that there was some issues with certain things. So that was my only reason I keep asking about it, you know, from time to time, so. I know it's a different system.
Yeah, I'd say we're way more confident with it now because the whole reason we went is there were a lot of errors in the other system because it was all hand in and I think we've explained it, but the hours go right from CrewSense into Springbrook. The math is, there is no hand moving. In the old system, not only did we have to do it by hand, but then we had to hand transfer that to the county's worksheets, who then hand transferred it to their thing. And so, not saying there's not errors, but we've reduced the likelihood of errors by exponential amounts.
Well, I know we have.
Yeah.
And you've helped answer some of the other questions I've had too about Springbrook, and I appreciate that as well. Okay.
All right, we don't need a motion for informational items, so we'll move on to old business, proposed budget, expense budget. Page 80.
Yeah, I don't want to recite all the numbers again because we did it last meeting, so I guess I would more be, unless there's any questions from the commissioners, the public also had all these packets to read too, so unless there's any questions, I'm not gonna tell you all the numbers again.
All right, any questions concerning the proposed budget? Proposed budget? I feel like we were almost very, you went last meeting, so do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to adopt the expense budget as presented.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. Reserve budget.
Last week we had sufficient time to review that, so I would move to adopt the reserve budget as presented.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Aye. Motion passed. Revenue budget. Revenue estimate, levy options.
So this, you have to adopt the revenue budget and then pass the resolution for the MSL. So the certification is passing the revenue budget. So you have to either however you want to word it. We got to get both of them passed because this year's a little weird because we did the levy lift, so there isn't a resolution needed for the fire levy.
All right, so two motions, one motion to pass the resolution, the other one to adopt the levy certification.
Correct.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 562. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All right, motion to adopt the levy certification form as presented. All in favor of that motion? Aye.
Aye.
All right, both motions passed. All right, strategic budget.
And again, this is just for you guys to have a tool to be looking out there. We don't have to adopt that. If you want to adopt it, you can, but there is no requirement. We would still have to adopt each budget every year going forward. So, but as the citizen said, we're trying to look out and making sure that what we're doing now is going to be sustainable in the future, and what we're doing now positively affects those future ideas.
Your recommendation is a motion for that, or just
No.
information? All
Yeah,
right,
just information, like I said, in this. I would say eventually I'd like to adopt a strategic budget at a meeting, but I think this is, you guys have only seen this is the first time, I think.
Yeah.
I think we need to get familiar with it a little bit more before we're adopting that officially. That would be my recommendation.
All right, well, then we'll move on to new business, transfer liability.
Yeah, so again, as we've done the consultant and the art and the accountant, sorry, the forensic accountant, they were both giving us recommendations. They didn't know that what we had, that we had both of them. And a lot of their recommendations were exactly like, and one of them was that our lead liability reserve fund was overfunded. Industry standard is 50%. We're nearly 100%. I'm recommending we go down to 55%. They'll give us a little bit of cushion since we do have that. But moving that money into the facility reserve again will help us get there faster than we can adjust those tax revenues to something else sooner. So I would recommend that we do that move. That also means we had slated to put 175 into our lead liability this year. There's no reason to do that. And so take that money that was going to go to reserve a lead liability and put it in the facilities too. So one motion would be moving $385,000 from lead liability to facilities. The other would be changing the 2023 budget just to change the transfer to lead liability to zero and increase the transfer to the facilities by additional $175,000.
So then the facilities would show at the end of the year, 175,000 more.
Well, it would actually show, yeah.
If we're transferring it there. it would
Yes,
show-
correct. The transfer would go by, and then the total balance would go up even more, but with that 385. Correct.
Okay.
All right, any questions on that? Motion.
Yeah, I'll move to transfer 385,000 from the lead liability reserve to the facilities reserve.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. Second motion.
Yeah, I'll also move to reduce the 2023 line item 5,500 to zero and increase the 2023 line item 5502 by an additional 175,000.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. Large warrants, relocation warrants, realtor commissions, on page 201.
And both of these, you've approved the expense, but again, by our policy, you actually have to approve the warrant also. So this is just the warrant. We're going to actually cut the check for those two once you approve this.
Do I have a motion for the warrants?
I will move to accept large warrant batch 11, 1323 in the amount of $85,596.
All in favor of that motion? Motion passed.
And I'll move to accept large warrant batch from 11/3/23 in the amount of $94,526.40.
All in favor of that motion? Motion passed. All right, fence.
Yeah, so we now are the owner of a large chunk of property on Pine Avenue. I'm not sure if you know that. Part of that is the city's also closing Cypress, and so we want to start the security of the whole site. And that's going to be through fencing. And we're going to do it in chunks as we can, working with our tenants that are there, which should all be out by the 31st, so we should have it all fenced by then. So we got a bunch of quotes for fencing, and you can see some were really expensive, some were only sort of expensive, and one was reasonable. So we would recommend taking the reasonable one.
I had a question about the fencing.
Mm-hmm.
I was over by there, and I saw there's a lot of fencing there already. Is that gonna be fenced? Is the fence that's already there gonna be part of this being fenced?
We'll work with National to figure out the best way to do that. So they gave us, we just measured the linear, like,
The whole thing?
yeah.
Okay.
And so once you guys decide on this, as we set it out, we'll figure out how they can best do it and make sure it's secure.
Because I know there's gaps in that fence
Correct.
too that's already there.
Correct.
So that's what I was wondering about. And then we talked with them about access points too.
Yeah.
How many do you believe we should have?
We're probably gonna do ones at Cypress, each into Cypress, and then one where the entrance to Stubert was off of Pine. And then we can unlock and move wherever we want. Some are just done easier than others, but we can get in anywhere we really want.
Is security an issue down there when it comes to, I mean, currently, I see on Saturdays and Sundays that a lot of the church parking ends up in that area.
Yeah.
I believe that they have an agreement with the current owners, guys, to allow them to park there.
Yeah. And the current owners notified them that would be done as of 10/31 when we take over. So we could decide that. We would prefer to fence it, and it's security, because by December, the people that live there and keep watch over it will all be gone. It'll just be an entire vacant lot with nobody living there. So right now, having 3 permanent residents there helps with security. That will be all gone, and probably before December, the next month or two, all those people will be gone. And so that's what we worry about. And it's less of something will get stolen or destroyed, because we're gonna tear it down, and it's more of a liability. Like having that building and all that stuff just accessible is a fair amount of liability that to us isn't worth it. The church, again, you guys to decide that. I haven't talked to them. The church is gonna have to start not parking there relatively soon, because once construction and demolition starts, that's all gone.
I think just I mean, there's a lot of people that pay taxes that go there. I think that we can have a discussion about this. I think that we should try to allow them to park there as long as feasible. Obviously they're not going to be able to park there when we start construction or the city starts construction, but they're currently using it, and I think that it'd be a very good gesture on our part just to allow them to, in some capacity, be able to use it until it's no longer. That's my take on it. I don't know what's your thoughts on that. If we're gonna put a fence up, they're essentially not gonna be able to have it parking soon to go. I mean, there's the same amount of people, and they're already in front of one of my houses that's down on Pine, and just everywhere. So that all that rest stop parking is gonna go.
Do you know how many people are parking in there on Sunday?
A lot.
Or others?
I think there's a lot.
Well,
They get a lot. They get a lot.
one of my concerns would be any kind of liability we might pick up ourselves by allowing them to do that.
Well, I think it would be no different than any kind of agreement that they have currently right now. That
Yeah, but we don't have an agreement with them.
oh yeah, but that's what I'm suggesting that we reach out to them and have that conversation.
If we did an agreement, I guess all I would say is it's one or the other. We can either secure it or allow a park. There's no way that I can envision how we can secure it and let them park there. And so you guys would have to do that. Like we can't manage. Letting them park there would mean we have no way to secure it. We would just leave it all open until we start doing whatever. And we're gonna have, so my thought is we're gonna start doing destructive training there. So we're gonna start breaking windows and doors, which opens all those houses up, all the commercial buildings up. And so the only way that I could think of as reasonable to keep people from accessing all that would be to secure the entire block, basically, because every building will, once we start training there, will be.
Is this a temporary fencing, correct?
Yep, yeah. Correct, and it'll be there through construction probably, right? Because that's normally when you construction, you put that security fencing all around it too.
I mean, I in my mind, it's like, why not just go around the structures and everything that we're using and say, hey, but here's this little space right here. I don't think more than anything else, I think we should, try to help them out as much as possible if we're able to, That's just not, I mean, they're taxpayers, not district.
Hopefully, well, we don't have a fence up there now.
Yeah.
So they could still be parking there, and we wouldn't necessarily know it. But if they got the letter and if they did their due diligence with their congregation, they would, I would think, be saying, folks, we gotta find other places to park, or change. I don't know if everybody's there at one time, but if everybody's there at one time, maybe they have to be there 2 times, just because of the parking situation. I mean, those are things that they have to work out.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit down and talk with them,
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's my recommendation.
Just so they realize that. My concern too, not only with the breakage and stuff like that, but if you were talking about security, having some, I don't know if we want to put up some temporary security in there, once the people move out and so forth.
I think we're tearing the structures down, so I don't think that.
Right, but
paying money to.
But what happens if some homeless folks move into those places, take up residence, and then we also have some sort of and we don't have anything to keep them out, I mean, if they go over a fence, that's one thing. But if everything's open like that, it's more tempting for those type of things to take place. And that could delay a project, our project of getting folks out of there in a timely manner. Because I know down here at Blackman's Lake, they had an issue of that a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And I know I walked through there and I watched them as they were building. I talked to the city about it and so forth. And it took a whole bunch of time before the city was finally able to go in there, and legally.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Yeah,
We definitely should do all that, but if we're able to do both, we should do both. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, when the word gets out that things are all vacant too, that'll be a real challenge, more challenging for us, I believe. And I don't know, if people are parking in there, maybe a few nights they wouldn't, or a few days, that might help, but I'm hoping that some of the projects can get going, pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
was somehow or another, I had asbestos on my list.
Talk about it.
Well, I don't know,
Yeah.
I wanted to know where we were at
Yeah.
with that, but anyway, that's something a little different, that's tearing down.
They start tomorrow, just so the testing starts tomorrow.
Oh, they start tomorrow, okay, good for them. But you know how many and all that stuff, that was some of my questions anyway. But, yeah, if you want, I could go down with the chief and visit with the folks down there at that church.
Yeah.
And, talk with them. Because I know when I was pastor of Zion, we had problems with parking too.
Yeah.
So,
And so I understand problems with parking.
Yeah.
And so one of our solutions for many years was to have 2 services. So we could, you know,
I
do
think they
something.
have, I think they have like 3 or 4.
Well,
So-
I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, that, just,
I don't know if it changed it. Again, I'll say I don't know a way to allow parking and secure. But also, the city is moving through the process to close Cypress. As soon as they close Cypress, which actually might have happened in November 7th, but it's gonna happen by the end of the month, Cypress gets blocked up. So they can no longer drive on Cypress, which means now that is 90% of the parking. So the city is gonna close down 90% of the parking because they still own it, but it's not a street anymore, it's closed. So Cypress will not be able to be used by them or be parked on it. We don't own Cypress, that's part of the city process. So really now the parking gets put into
The city can't allow them to park there for a couple hours during Sunday.
probably legally, but that's not their, that's not in the ordinance, that's not the way, once they close the street, nobody can use it. Once they vacate it, that's not gonna happen until February, then we would own it and we could allow them to park again, but by the time that comes around, we should be tearing it down, so, again, not trying to be mean to the church, but parking is going away, and I don't know a way around that. Now, we're probably not gonna put the fence up until middle to end of December, right? Because we're not gonna put the fence up when all the tenants there. So I'm getting you to approve it so that we are ready and we can get national going. So the church is gonna have probably all November and most of December to park. But once the street is closed, we don't even have a say of that until it's vacated. And so the parking is just going away with this whole project. There is no way around it. We're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to not let them use it. But parking is on a really short time frame that we could do it no matter what we do.
When does the city plan on going on the approach portion? I know that we're on the opposite side of the actual parcel.
I'm not sure when they start. But then there is a dilemma, and I don't know how the city would, but letting one group use public
Yeah,
facilities for their use is a tricky line to walk. Let's just say that. Not, you can't do it, but it's a tricky line. So just be careful with that. They got notice that the parking was the agreement was ending on the end of October. They got that at the beginning of September. So they had
Yeah.
plenty of notice. I haven't gone down and said
I
anything has stopped because we want to do
it's difficult because it is a public space, so it's difficult.
But
I guess the church, but it's,
yeah, it's all the public space, not a specific public space,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
yeah, for sure.
So,
All right, well, I guess we can discuss this. This is just for the fence, so I think we're all probably all in favor of the security of the site for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion for that fence. Motion, all right, I'll motion to use national fencing per their estimate to secure the Pine Avenue property. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right. Collaboration report.
yeah, so the board asked for a report on collaboration opportunities with Surfer. The report's finalized. You guys have had it. The local got the final copy. And just wanted to present that officially and see if you had any questions, comments, concerns.
I think it was a very, very long report and a lot to digest. There's probably a lot to talk about in that report as well. Yeah, I think that we should definitely spend some time and maybe go through it and have some discussions about it. Yeah. Do you have any comments on it?
no, I think he did a fine job. If we wanted to do something else with, South County or, you know, I think that individual would be good to do that.
I think they did a phenomenal job for sure.
Yeah.
That report was very thorough.
And he's kind of touched a little on South County anyway.
Yeah.
Not into real detail, but that might be some place to consider, sort of, you know,
Yeah.
compare a couple things side by side
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
If I had a parallel discussion, that was one thing that we did.
Yeah.
Seemed as though that was kind of a little bit of a recommendation as well.
Is he recommending that we have a similar report with South County, or just that we start discussions with South County for looking in? What did you say in the report, which,
I don't think that there's specifically in the report.
I mean, having read the report, it kind of seems good information to have. I just
Yeah. No, I don't believe it was specifically in
Correct, it wasn't part of his scope, and so I don't think he talks specifically about anything. He basically brought South County in just to, highlight the local area.
When did South County send us a letter? That was
there.
last summer,
January, and I was like,
Yeah, let's see, February, March, April, I can look real quick. Give me.
and our response was received. I mean, our response to that letter was we received your letter. Thank you.
I think it was thank you not at this time.
yeah, that would be okay, that would be always open to looking at it, whatnot.
Well, I think that having a conversation continue is good. A big takeaway I got from Jim Tropin's report, which I thought also was really comprehensive and informative and really well done, was that there is no hurry, there's no pressing issues for the district, financially and operationally healthy, and there's no hurry to solve any of those problems through consolidation. I really liked just seeing third-party assessment of that. But for, I guess, general regional planning, I think it's useful to include South County Fire in any close discussions. So I would move that we reach out to them, just to let them know that we're interested in bringing them into any discussions they might have. So that would be a motion to direct Chief Waller to draft a letter back to South County, a response.
Any discussion, but
Well, I guess my proposed motion would be to just draft a letter back, saying, expressing interest in exploring options for potential opportunities for collaboration or consolidated services, or just to keep them in the loop.
Would that include doing something like this,
I
like this book here we just got?
don't know. I don't know if it kind of heads down that way of being
I think that
warranted.
yeah, I think that that's.
Well,
what
if
we do
that's,
on-
if that's the case, then we probably ought to include in that motion, you know, if we like the gentleman who put this together, we probably should include that, and so that we're the same individual could be looking at it both, rather than getting somebody different in there who maybe would see some different stuff, and at least he'd have a pretty good understanding of us, you know, what he's talking to with us, and kind of go from there, you know. Then he wouldn't have, you know, if we got somebody different, they'd probably have to go through and do all the research again, you know, just like he did at the beginning. So I think if that's, you know, something we think is important to do, we ought to include that in the motion.
Okay.
You know, I mean, if we have funds for that.
Can I speak on that? Can I make my recommendations?
Oh, sure. No, I was just.
Initially, I was definitely not in favor of any kind of conversation with South County. I'm leaning a little more towards open for dialogue. I think that it'd be my recommendation is that we just start with just a letter. To see where they are, where their board sits, where Surface Board seems to feel the idea is meeting with the locals, you know, having that conversation just to feel it out. Maybe I would start with that. My recommendation is just a letter to see where it goes, and I think that the next move would probably be, okay, well, what does that look like? Can we get Jim involved with our side of it? Okay.
I don't remember exactly what we said in the letter to South County before, except that we got their letter.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think
That's about it.
I think that their letter was like we like to join the conversation and we just basically said, hey, we would like to specifically just stick with Surfer, and we definitely keep the failure line to it. And that was the gist of it. Would you
Yeah,
say?
and I would say, in essence, it probably doesn't matter what we said,
Yeah.
this would just be kind of a new letter saying, when I took you, hey, we'd like you included in any discussions we're doing with collaboration as we look through regional. So really it's, we told them, thanks, but not right now, we're kind of not ready, and now we're just gonna send a new letter saying, hey, we're not gonna, I wouldn't reference that, I would say, hey, we're ready, do you wanna join us in collective discussions, is that kind of what you're
That's
thinking?
kind of the gist of what I was proposing. So I guess to put that in motion, I move to direct Chief Waller to draft a letter in the next month, visible in the next month, to South County Fire, expressing interest in discussing options for potential collaboration or consolidated services.
All in favor of that motion? Aye. Motion passed. Alright,
Can I just clarify that motion, sorry?
oh, yeah, yeah.
Sure,
sorry.
I did my best there. but-
Yeah,
Just make sure, so
Yeah.
what we've done in the past, what they've done, this would be you direct me to write a letter, but it would be from the chair, i.e. the board.
Yes,
Thank you. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
to write a letter representing the board's intent
Okay.
to, well, yeah, to reach
Perfect.
out for,
Sorry, I had to catch up with
thank you.
Alright, any more discussion around the actual report itself? Since we kind of got, we veered off in another motion on that report. Alright, moving on. A vehicle purchase.
Yeah, like the story of the last 3 years of vehicles. They're hard to come by on state fleet bid. Obviously, there was a real worry that the 24s they basically shut down the fleet ordering a 24s with the strike. Not sure if it'll come back or not. That's kind of the one they take out first, but it might with the strike over. But as I was looking for alternatives, I found 2 different 23s. Obviously, 23s are going to be cheaper than 24s anyways, and they're here right now. The state bid has one, or has 2, I should say, but they're work trucks, and they basically have no features. We found one local, which I like better, in Kendall and Marysville. They are an LT, that's the model that we've got before. Very little price difference. We can buy off of them via Brian because it's under 40,000, and they're on MSRC. We don't have to have one or the other, but they are both. So we're recommending buying the ones that are a little bit more. Let me have the number here. If you don't remember. Oops, went too far. Nope, now I'm clear of fences. It'll take me a while. I think they're $1,800. Nope, $1,400 more. $1,400 more to get the features like backup alarms and cruise control and a lot of those safety features. The backup camera. The work trucks don't have any of that. The total cost would be $57,000. $40,000 for the truck, and then the other is for the canopy, the rollout, the lights, the radio, and all that. So I recommend, again, by Brian's, he says we need to have 2 different purchase auths and 2 different checks, so that's why you have the motion has the 2 different purchase authorizations. But that's our recommendation. That way we can get the staff vehicles here about a year sooner and pay less in going to 24s.
Alright, do I have a motion for the vehicle purchase?
So we get the vehicle and then we send it down to someplace to have all
Yeah, it goes
the
to
fire lights and things put on.
Yeah, but it goes to a lot of different places, so we haven't got, Greg hasn't got all the bids for all this stuff yet. But like, we'll just use the last 3 we did. The rollout and the canopy was done in Marysville, by one place, the lights were done by another place, and the radio was done by another place, and the graphics were done by another place. So Greg and Gary leapfrogged them around to all different places to get it all done.
Alright, do I have a motion?
I'll move that we authorize EA 2023-21 and EA 2023-22, $57,000 each to include the lights, radio, graphics, canopy rollout, and other miscellaneous items.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
That motion passed. District 16, transport ILA.
Yeah, this came about rather fast. We had, you directed me to talk to them to kind of increase their rates to match what our citizens have been paid. So we had an initial discussion in September, threw out some ideas. One of them was a flat rate. It's easier for them, easier for us. They liked that, and they went through back and forth a couple times to get the gist of it, sent it to Brian, and it's basically all done. And we just took a historical average of the last 5 years, $22,000. Right now, the crews have to remember when they go to Lake Rosier what the call is, how to send it to Neil. Neil has to send it to billing. They have to figure out which one to bill, send Lake Rosier a bill, send the people a bill, and a lot of things just fall through the cracks and it's a little hard. All that would just go away. Lake Rosier just pays us a flat rate. We put in the ILA, as you can see, inflators for CPI, inflators for call volume increase or decrease. One of their concerns was, hey, we're trying to rely on you less, not because we don't like you, but we're trying to build ourselves up. So if we start doing more of our own transport, we don't want to be paying you that much. That's why there's a deflator or inflator of call volume. So I think this is a kind of a win-win for all of us. It's not a whole lot in our funding model, as you can see, and so having that flat rate, that increase in efficiency for staff is well worth just having a flat rate. And we're starting to build that partnership with Lake Rosier. They want to get more training from us, so we're going to start setting those up this year. Neil and some others are going to do some classes for them, and so we're starting to build that relationship stronger and stronger as we go. So,
Staff station.
no, all volunteer.
Just all volunteer.
Yep.
And I guess, yeah, staff, like, I'd imagine like a part-timer or two, but none of that.
I don't think they have a part-time program, do you?
No.
I don't know if they staff with their volunteers or not.
I don't know right now.
I don't think they have a sleeper program. I think it's a true volunteer. Pager goes off of the station. Unless they're drilling, nobody's in the house.
They have an interesting, they don't have a fire chief. There's two of them that split the duties of fire chief. They both have full-time jobs, other full-time jobs, and so they kind of have just divided the duties in half, and they work collaboratively together. Never seen it before, but I enjoyed working with both of them. It seemed to work well, and I like outside-the-box solutions, and so I thought it was interesting. So no, I don't think there is any part-time staffing or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually went on a pretty serious call on Wednesday there, and they were very surprisingly quick response. Really second on team.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just because it was a BLS call, but they were definitely fast. All right, you have a motion for the District 16 ILA.
Yeah, I will make a motion to direct the fire chief to sign the transport ILA with District 16 and manage the ILA as agreed to.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? Aye. Motion passed. All right, BC promotional list certification.
Yeah, you have the list before you. I just want to say that I think the last time we talked, we didn't have all the results we wanted with our candidates. We had 3 candidates again, and the assessors all commented, different BCs from the area, all commented this was a very difficult test for a BC, and all of our scores were at or above expectations. Very proud, that's only a year different, but I think that shows to that training side. We've been putting a lot of time and effort into training. We've been putting a lot of time and effort to clearly relay our expectations of where we want the BC in the organization. And I think all the candidates have met and exceeded that expectation. All 3 passed. Like I said, everybody got well at or above all of the scores that we wanted in all of the categories. So I think it's a testament to the candidates, a testament to the training staff, and just a testament to the general direction that you guys have allowed us to go. So usually more than you get for certification lists, but I thought it was important that everybody knows that we're making identifiable steps forward.
I just want to add the bar has definitely been raised. It's a breath of fresh air.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll motion to certify the battalion chief's promotional list as presented. All in favor of that motion? Aye. That motion passed. Draft meeting schedule.
Yeah, this is the first version that we do. Usually we pass it in December. We have a little bit of a change, so you guys can, by law, we do have to have a resolution before the first of the year. And typically it's a second Monday is what we've done, and so that's what the draft calendar before you is every second Monday. One does fall on one holiday. We can keep it on the holiday, we can move it to the next Tuesday. There's lots of options for that, so unless there's any questions, comments.
I'll just get back to you, obviously, we'll schedule. So. Any other discussion on that? We'll just figure it out later. All right. Executive session. The board will be going to an executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.140 relating to collective bargaining issues and negotiations. The executive session will be for 30 minutes with no expected action. The board also will be going to executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 to review performance of the fire chief. The executive session will be for 30 minutes with no action expected. So we will go to executive session at 20:02. And returning within an hour. An hour or total 30?
I had an hour, but you guys can,
Yeah, no,
if you want to adjust, you can do the minute.
I'm doing the math right, an hour, all right.
Performance evaluation will be extended by 30 minutes to 21:32.
Jeez.